I'm so lonely. I'm so lonely and sadly alone.
So, I guess I'm just a figment of your imagination or something? Like, what's going on?
Well, there's a difference between lonely and being alone. Besides, there are worse things to start off with than a Team America World Police reference.
I mean, fair enough, but how old is that movie now, by the way?
Doesn't matter, I haven't seen the movie, I just wanted to reference it because I love that scene. Why is everybody so fucking stupid?
So what you're saying is that you're uncultured. Got it. Anyway.
I've seen almost all of South Park, many seasons, multiple times over. So, get dabbed on.
Bold of you to assume I didn't do the same. And I'm pretty sure CBF probably did more than you. Actually, where is he right now?
Jesus fucking wait. Hold on. Are you people? Is this Mongoose? Is that a fucking Coke?
No, wait, no,
What in the fuck is this? Why does this Coke smell like a mixture of radiator fluid and formaldehyde?
It's lighter fluid. It belongs to a robot.
Sorry I'm late. I was busy in the bathroom just coping over the fact that I miss my
You probably
girlfriend.
shouldn't drink that anymore.
Because I was hearing Lone Crit just also going about loneliness. I feel that, man.
Yeah, and
well, maybe somebody should be focusing on fixing the teleporter because some random stranger got into our cafe.
Wait, what?
Excuse you.
Maybe somebody should be fixating on that stranger.
Oh yeah, who the fuck are you?
Who's getting to that?
How am I a stranger? Okay, I have no idea who you people are. I've been aboard of this goddamn ship for 2 weeks. Do you know how hard is it to subside on nothing for 2 weeks? Nothing that goodwill and hope?
Oh wait, that's right! I think I did see someone that was flying away from the Dyna Xenon last time. Huh, that was you?
Yeah,
You lived?
Wait,
I knew that ride was still being tested, but I hope my insurance covers this.
Yeah, right. A person just hopped on the Dynarex and started yelling "Caca" while flying through space. Sure.
Somebody don't tell him about Char's counterattack.
Next time on the Newtypes podcast.
Oh my god.
Do you have anything I can drink?
Here, have my coffee.
Alright. Oh god.
Yeah, I probably got other stuff too if you really need help.
Oh, this is the best coffee I ever had. Jesus.
Alright, now that is settled, and I will make sure no one touches my mug again. I'll fucking kill you if you do. Since you mentioned Char's counterattack, how about let's talk about a train wreck finale? Let's talk about...
Hey, CBF.
What?
CBF.
What?
I'll kill you first.
God fucking.
Let's talk about One Direct Priority, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, how nice. I've seen that.
Oh, okay. Well, that saves us getting you up to speed, but Lone Crit. Okay, so...
I have to get up on speed on other things, but... Yeah.
Fair enough.
Basically...
But yeah.
You know how we talked about Razavon, and that's a show where it's just like, oh, there's a whole bunch of metaphors and stuff, but it ultimately kind of just doesn't really amount to a whole lot? Imagine that, but worse.
Somehow worse, but somehow a bit more comprehensive at the same time, which is weird.
Actually, I don't remember, but please don't recap me.
I mean, not the ending, but more so the show in general, I guess.
We'll get to that fucking ending. Well, let's talk about the show first.
Wait, what's it actually about?
Alright, so, strap yourself in. Imagine, there's this girl named Auto Eye, heterochromia, that's what she has, odd eye.
Yeah.
Puns.
Uh-huh.
But, so basically, at some point she
Very
buries
subtle.
a dead firefly, and then it just starts telling her, hey, I know what you're thinking. There's this dead girl. You can sort of revive her. Here's this egg. The first one's free. It's on me. Next thing she knows, she's kind of in this dream sequence, and she's told to crack the egg. And in it sprouts a girl. And so what it turns out is anytime they... So here's the thing about eggs, right?
So what you're saying is that this show is every otaku's fantasy.
It's pretty chuny as fuck anyways.
It's literally Persona by way of Balan Wonderworld.
And a touch of Utena. Because I think that egg thing, yeah, I can see it.
I don't care if the theme isn't sang by Masami Okui.
I mean, the
That
opening
theme
is
is
still
based.
pretty nice, though.
Yeah, this is a great OP still, but anyway. So, as it turns out, the girls, like, they're all, in a way, sort of visual metaphors for how they have committed suicide. It's basically, you have to protect them from a whole bunch of the creatures, and as well as a physical manifestation of someone or something that's responsible for or most associated with their suicide. Once you do that by defeating them, those girls end up sort of like getting over their hangups a little bit and disappear. And when that happens, the person you actually want revived from a traumatic death, suicide, gets a little bit closer to actually being revived from their... Because they're basically a statue from them committing suicide. So Ai's friend, her friend named Koito, at some point she committed suicide, and no one quite knows why, including her. So she wants to get her revived, and this is kind of how she has to do it. She's sucked into this. And then it turns out there are 3 other girls in somewhat similar situations.
So I never thought I'd be reminded of Return to Oz on the Newtypes podcast, but lo and behold, it happened.
I don't know what that
Don't
is.
if you... any of you guys have seen Return to Oz, the sequel to Wizard of Oz, but there's this entity called the King of Gnomes,
I heard of it.
who's this giant stone statue, and every time he absorbs a human being somehow, he becomes slightly more fluid, and initially he's just like a rock, and then later stop motion animation, and he becomes just increasingly more human and more fluid.
You see,
As that goes on.
that right there is a shit ton more creative than anything in Wonder Egg Priority.
Well, it's creative because stop motion.
Wonder Egg Priority didn't have wheelers either.
The Wizard of Oz had a sequel?
Oh, so you did see it? Yeah, I did.
I only know about the wheelers because Joey Wheeler.
That's
Brooklyn accent
Janucci.
intensifies. Yeah.
Janucci to you?
No,
Okay.
Joey is a
Also-
perfectly good name. Shut the fuck up.
Janucci-kun.
Yeah, if you're a degenerate American. But we're not like them, right, Aki?
Right.
But enough about dual monsters. We're already on one bad show.
By the way, CBF, before you go on to that, I just want to say Wizard of Oz is actually based on a book series that's like 100 years old now, and there are many subsequent books past the first one. It's like over 10 books.
Yeah, it's kind of like Alice in Wonderland in that sense.
Huh. And so only 2 of them have adaptations. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. But anyways,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, do you want a Netflix series?
No!
Fuck no,
But
That's
baby.
what I thought.
What they're doing to My Little Pony is enough. Jeez.
But yeah, back to Egg. So there are these 4 girls now who are... It's sort of like a magical girl show, but not necessarily one, where each of them, whenever you dream, you have to have an egg. You have to buy an egg from like these 2 shifty guys. And then you break it open. It's a sort of visual metaphor for how they committed suicide that is related tangentially to your own hangups. Like in episode 1, with the girl Ai has to protect, it's a girl who was effectively bullied into suicide, which Ai's friend, Koito, that's part of why she's dead, but no one knows exactly the full picture.
So I also weirdly got reminded of Dynazenon.
So it's that kind of thing. It's a largely episodic story once they form up. Does that sound interesting, at least, on the surface?
Yeah, it does. And like, to a
Yeah.
certain
Yeah,
extent...
Suicide is
it sounds a
interesting.
bit... For me personally, it sounds a bit too out there. It sounds kind of like one of these premises that's just gonna be done in a dumb, clumsy way, like a magical girl site. It sounds a bit too loaded for me to expect it to be done well, you know?
Yeah, that's the problem.
I mean, yeah, especially with the time slot that most anime get these days. But to be fair, the first half of the show, I almost...
You have to have a very high IQ to understand Wonder Egg Priority.
Well, yes. But especially the first half, because I think the first half of the show is legitimately pretty alright. It has a lot of good directing. The character dynamics are very endearing. I especially love, what's her name? The blonde-haired girl.
Rika?
Rika.
Yeah, Rika. She's great.
Rika is a case where, for the bulk of her introduction, I was wondering if we were almost supposed to hate her because of the air she puts up, make her seem like a hilariously morbid and callous person. But then you kind of get some of the actual reveals and she's like, not only genuinely more layered, but also feels guilty about the person who committed suicide that she's ultimately responsible for. And then there are other things about her in particular that are kind of fucked up and sad.
Wait, you mean a modern anime where somebody assists somebody being bullied into suicide and they actually feel bad for it later?
Oh no,
I
that
know,
one's a different
right?
case. Because she used to be an idol, who at some point told a very obsessive fan that she wanted nothing to do with her. She died. And she kind of feels pretty fucked up about knowing that.
Oh, okay,
The thing is,
never mind.
the devil is in the detail in that case, because I'd argue between all the girls, Rika is pretty much the only one who is directly responsible, because the thing is that her fan was overweight, and she ended up telling her that she doesn't want to have anything to do with fatties, they're disgusting, and that girl literally ended up starving herself to death.
That's a bit direct, but okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the other cases you can argue, but in this one it's really hard to absolve Rika of this.
Yeah, because she literally told a fan, fuck you, I want nothing to do with you. Because A, you're a fan, B, you're very obsessive, C, you're a fat pig. Fuck you. Never see me again.
Okay, when you describe this to me, it sounds a bit too heavy-handed. You'd expect this to be the kind of thing that helps in somebody being led to their demise, not being like so one-to-one.
Yeah, it is pretty heavy-handed. That's kind of Wonder Egg Priorities thing, because it wants to be super visceral about everything, and for a while, it kinda works. But then there are some very shifty moments, like how in episode 4, when they try to explain the difference between boy and girl suicides, and why there are no boys who are partaking in this, or who are, well, it sort of gets a little contradicted later, but for the most part, there are no boys who partake in this, or are basically given a chance.
And I'm assuming there's a significant minority of girls that die of dehydration.
It's all suicide related.
Yeah.
So it's basically a case where, for some reason, with girls, according to this show, it's more like emotion and fleeting based, while with guys it's more goal oriented. Does that sound kind of scuffed?
Yeah. But with Wonder Egg Priority, it's generally pretty ostentatious, I would say. But again, for the first half of the show, I was kind of jiving with it because the sense of atmosphere generally was kind of very surreal and also very somewhat pretty dynamic as well. It kind of reminds me a lot of like, early Persona stuff.
And you also have the feeling there's a theme going on with suicide is a one-way street, you can't get back from that. And in the beginning it's kind of, well, of course the girls are being told they can, but it's never that easy, even with shows like this. So a good chunk of the show also focuses on the friendship the girls form that helps them through their grief by talking about it, by being there for one another, the kind of things that actually help dealing with these kind of things. And it's, I'd say, up until like episode 8 or 9, they really go through with that and it works really well. You feel for these girls and you have a lot of time of them just hanging out. But then episode 10 and 11 happened.
And then you realize that this show would be a million times better if this were made in the early 2000s. Because they would have a lot more time.
Because this would be a 2-core show instead of a 1-core show with rough planning and a whole bunch of production issues. That made it so episode 8 had to be a recap.
It was a mess.
And so that what was going to be their finale had to be delayed 3 months for a shitty garbage dumpster fire of a special.
that was also half recap.
Yeah, that too. Imagine waiting 3 months.
Hold on. You are telling me that the finale for a show was also part recap?
Yes.
Yes.
Imagine waiting 3 months for a show to conclude, to see how are they gonna wrap this up. There's no way they can wrap all these plot points up. They introduce a whole bunch of shit, a brand new final boss and their own mini-boss squad in like episode 10 and 11 and explain their origin stuff. How are they gonna wrap all this up? They don't.
Well, here's a question. They didn't.
They don't.
I mean, here's the answer. They didn't. And like, okay, you see all this really interesting stuff about how the characters' hang-ups and the conclusions to each of their arcs, and like, hey, the mystery surrounding their benefactors, Akka and Ura Akka, were these like puppet dudes who made this whole fucking cyborg robot daughter shiz going on, and how that's connected with the dream world.
I do, Kaiser. I do see that.
Fuck that shit.
Okay,
Well, fuck you.
may I just walk you through this?
Go ahead.
A big problem of the show would have been resolved by just removing it altogether. As Kaiser mentioned, those two puppets originally used to be people, and they, for whatever reason, decided we should create a human girl to learn about emotions. And they create the little girl, and she's 14, and they make...
That never ends very well.
He already knows where this is going.
The minute she says that she was 14.
This show did not air in Dead
The
Night.
second you start by saying, so we're going to create this human little girl to learn about emotions, I'm out. Nope.
You knew it was a recipe for disaster.
Well, I haven't seen Violet Evergarden, but
Oh,
I saw one episode and I was like,
oh no, this
Oh
is
my
far
God,
worse
kill
and it's
me.
far more violent.
Yeah.
The thing about the emotions is actually it's not I take that back. It's not so much that she has to learn, it's more than the guys want to learn it from her and just create her with those innate emotions that quote unquote every daddy wants their daughter to have qualities. And
well, at
that
least it's
is
not a hentai.
It backfires
Yeah.
so
no.
badly.
I mean, don't search the doujin market, but no, it's not. And they end up making her compassionate and sweet, but also jealous. And what ends up happening... Hold on. What ends up happening is that they meet this co-worker of theirs that moves in with them, who is a woman.
What you're saying, Aki, is that you are saying that the show be saying bitches be crazy.
That's not what I was getting to. Because the whole thing... Okay, I'm going to skip ahead. The whole thing is that those two had a daughter, an actual human daughter, with the scientist. And the little girl they created got so upset with the fact that there was another woman in the life of her daddies. So she killed her. She just killed her. But her daughter was born
Somehow.
anyway. And somehow it's not
Because
really...
anime.
Yeah.
No, but specifically.
Also, no damage whatsoever. And that daughter grows up to be 14, proposes to the one who is not her dad, and tells him, haha, you know, I can marry you if you want. And he's like, what the fuck, you're a child, what are you...
Oh, that pop sound I made?
And then she kills
That's
herself.
a very specific note that fucks him up, because that's the sound the original dollar Frill would make. So that's what cues him to the fact that, like, oh, it must have been her. She must have been the reason that she committed suicide. Fuck you, Frill.
Yeah, because Frill does this thing where she kind of like puckers her lips, kind of like a fish, and does a popping sound noise thing. And the daughter did that too, which I guess is supposed to foreshadow that, oh, Frill entered her mind dungeon and, just drove her to commit the real life version of self-destruct. So, that's fun.
I'm just gonna go ahead and guess that this Mind Dungeon doesn't look like an MC Escher painting.
Nor does it look like the one labyrinth in the Millennium Puzzle.
That's what I was referencing, CBF.
Thank you. Thank you. You explained the joke.
Kaiser, funny you should say that, because the other day, Aki and I were playing a Pokemon Platinum Nuzlocke, and a wild Geodude self-destructed and nearly one-hit and nuked one of her Pokemon.
Oh my god.
It was the scariest moment.
It's a traumatic experience.
I'm still shivering.
She still got PTSD from that.
But yeah, about all of this, we just dumped a whole lot of shit on you, right? Guess which episode out of 12 all of this appears in?
11.
Yes. Does that sound like a logistical nightmare to you in terms of pacing?
And so, I repeat the earlier question I set you up with. So you have all of this shit on top of the personal struggles of the characters and the side characters and some other stuff that they're going through and the mysteries of like how the mind dungeon works, which isn't even explained in the backstory. Do you want to know about all of these things, Lone Crit? Do you want to know about anything, little buddy?
You know, Kaiser, the way you do that gesture, the only thing I can think of is you gesturing towards your Marvel Phase 4 plan of problems. Like...
the answer is...
Did you...
if you cared about any of those things, okay? Here's what the show does. Here's exactly...
Go fuck yourself.
Okay.
That's what it says.
No. Better than that. Here's what the show does, okay? It stands up. It comes out the closet like his name is R. fucking Kelly. It pulls down its pants and pisses all over it. It lights that bitch on fire.
No! Not R. Kelly!
Hey, I mean, there are worse things to do, like a real-life fire piss sequence from Ghost Rider 2.
Oh my god.
Oh.
But yeah, all of that shit, throw it out the fucking window. Punt that into the stratosphere. Because we're not gonna focus on any of it.
Absolutely nothing.
Instead, we're just gonna pull a whole bunch of bullshit bait and switches and gaslighting and then make it so that... Remember when I talked about Koito?
Yeah.
Like, the anime did set up a little bit that, hey, maybe she was kind of a fake friend, especially because they say that she and I sort of, like, drifted apart or whatever. But do you want to know what the fuck it turns out happens, the actual reason behind her suicide?
Tell me.
So, there's Ai's teacher.
Lean in real close.
Lean
in real close. Do some ASMR shit.
No, this is a surprisingly long-winded explanation that will just... Oh my god. So there's Ai's teacher... Fuck you.
Don't ever say that again.
There's Ai's teacher, and Ai, at some point, falls in love with her. I mean, with him. Turns out, except he wants to be with her mom, and then it turns out, in episode 12, in an alternate universe, unrequited love is the reason she killed herself. Because, yeah, there's, like, alternate universe, parallel universes in this show, too. But...
See, now it's really unfortunate that this show isn't a hentai, because that could have been easily solved.
The thing is... That's part of what happened with Koito. Because it turns out Koito is a serial suicide baiter who got another person to commit suicide. So she tried the same thing with him, throwing a whole bunch of shit, including a false rape accusation on him. Though at some point, when no one's looking, she fucks up, trips, and dies. So she didn't even really commit suicide.
My god.
So that just throws the mechanics of the series out the window.
And this is all just... And that, literally, here's the thing, and this was all just slapped into, like, I don't know, the last, like, 10 minutes. 10 minutes of the fucking special.
Oh my god. Does this mean it pulled the last episode of Charlotte?
Worse.
Worse. Charlotte at least didn't have the recap thrown
It's just
in.
like, imagine knowing that the only reason I was saved was because she happened to run into the worst fucking human being known to man.
And you might say, oh, but that's partially the point. Hold on, let me get my strong warrior voice. But that might, let's say, actually, no, better yet. Let's say hypothetically, that's actually the point, okay? Let's say hypothetically, that's actually the point, that Koito was supposed to be a fake friend. And, it's supposed to portray how emotions can be pretty fragile and could drive different people to do very desperate things in order to get back what they lost, okay? Let's say all that is true, hypothetically, okay? Do you think that this show expanded on
I
any
hope
of
you
these
step
issues?
on a Lego.
Doesn't mean they did it well. Yeah, do you think that in the last 10 minutes of the show they expanded on it?
Yeah, they just throw that shit in there. And it didn't even have like a proper ending or anything to any of this stuff.
Yeah, it's just like...
Such...
It has so much to do with like that kind of bullshit, general suicide, and even like transitions and so much stuff in general, except it barely does anything with a lot of those things once they're introduced. And what it does, some of that is just revolting.
And the best part about the final episode is It's double length. It's 46 minutes, and when people learned about that, we're all like hopeful, like, oh right, it's basically like we're getting a small movie to tie everything together. How nice! And then they stuff half it with filler anyway, with recap.
That's 25 minutes
What
out
is the
of 46, by the way.
All that fucking...
3 months wait people had for that finale.
Yeah.
All that fucking potential just wasted.
Hey guys, mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished, Cloverworks! You managed to come up with an ending that might actually be worse than Neverland Season 2. You might have actually created a product worse than Neverland Season 2, which...
No, I'd argue.
Both of those are, like,
Season 2
tied
is
for, like,
worse.
worst thing of the year. Both by the same fucking studio.
I wonder if we can play that theme later on.
Oh my god.
It's so stupid. It's so terrible. Oh my goodness.
Just as a 2-second insert.
If it was just like the first 7 episodes, I could almost be like, yeah, you can watch Wonder Egg, but no. Once you get to that ending, there's so much bullshit
It's
that happens.
not
Which is
worth
like, even the TV ending is really bad because of the pacing issues and what we mentioned. But then the finale just ruins, poisons any possible nice thing we could have said because it kills the impetus.
Point is, Lone Crit, you dodged a bullet.
But since you made a Wing joke, let's go to another shit show because Wing fucking sucks too.
Wing is awesome. How dare you fucking lying, misogynistic, homophobic, robophobic, homobromophobic is
Lone Crit, stop right there. You're sounding like a Tumblrite.
No,
You're sounding like a Tumblrite.
No, you sound like a conservative. It's just like you sound like a Twitter user. You sound throwing every ist at the book. And also, are you trying to imply that I am Wu Fei right now? The man who goes, I don't think bleeding hearts are women.
Yeah, because like, wait, Lone Crit, you're at episode 13, right? So you're past that episode, aren't you?
Yep. Oh yeah, I am. We talked about it when I was in the supermarket that one time. That was so funny, just the way they deal with like his misogyny and the whole thing about the protecting the weak or whatever. It's like, I cannot use you, Gundam, whatever the fuck you're called, because I am weak and I am not worthy of you.
Yeah, he calls it Nataku, which...
It's so stupid.
Every time he says that, I just think of like the actual porn site. I just imagine like the entire logo, or like the Gundam being plastered with like its palette, like it's gotten palette swapped to be the Nataku shit.
No, I just think about the YouTuber Nux Taksu. Oh god.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Now I'm just imagining like a Photoshop of just like all the 5 boys behind a couch and then Relina in front and then the Brazzers logo.
The plot twist that they're literally all Hiro Yui because that's all she cares about. Well, she also cares about pacifism, but yeah, Hiro Yui. All 5 of them are Hiro Yui.
By the way, so Aki, I made you watch the first 2 episodes of the Abridged, and you also watched the first episode of the Suing Discord server. I dare you to guess what bits from the episodes were for real, and what were jokes.
Alright.
Because I'm just gonna tell you right now, I'll kill you, and mission accomplished. Those are in the show.
Yes.
Exactly like
All
that.
the time.
In the dub and the sub.
All the time.
And they are just as laughable as it sounds. Literally just like grabs Relina's birthday party invitation, rips it, wipes the tears, just like, I'll kill you.
You know what I really love though? That the way his hands look, it looked like he was a DJ about to scratch a record.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a JoJo
Scratch
pose.
a paper.
But yeah, Aki, what did you think of the first episode? Wait, I want to get your fresh virgin reaction
Abridged.
to it. Abridged.
Well, I got the feeling I got the gist of the episode. And
You got to
honestly,
experience.
I cannot imagine the actual show being that different from this, except for maybe the voice acting.
Well, I mean, while Hiro Yui doesn't sing to himself, I need a hero, na 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 na. The series.
That was my favorite part.
Yeah, the series is very action movie-ish, like
Yeah.
American action movie-ish. Hiro Yui himself is Hiro Yui himself is very much an action man, if you're familiar with that phrase. You know, he's not that much of a character, he goes around doing cool stuff. That's his character. Doing cool stuff, I'm tough guy.
He's a soldier more than he is a person.
Yeah, which is fine. That's not necessarily a bad thing. You can write, like, more complicated action men, but, you know, that's kind of... You know, as, like, Mike Soklasa and Jay Bauman say, I'm Tom Cruise action man. I go around doing stunts and cool shit. And that's Hiro Yui.
And to be fair, they kind of utilize that aspect with Hiro in interesting ways, especially in the earlier parts of the show that you guys have seen.
And that's why Puppy's dead. Yeah, I heard about that.
We'll get to Endless Waltz another time. But yeah, Aki, what bits of episode 1 of the original or of like the abridged did you like?
Well, the part about I kill you. If you just take that out of context, it'll just seem like any other high school melodrama.
Yeah,
But
basically.
also the part about where the girl is just kind of like looking at him. Damn, he's so hot. Is that in the actual show?
Yeah.
Well, no,
I
she
wonder.
doesn't say that. Oh, and okay, what happens when she invites him to her party? Her dialogue in that scene is somehow even more ridiculous.
Yes.
Like the first time when she's on the beach, what actually happened is this bizarro scene where even though he's already like long gone, she's like, I am Relina so-and-so, and you are? And it's sort of supposed to be like poetical, theatrical or something, but it's like,
It doesn't work.
what?
Yeah,
what?
the show is just showered with theatrics.
That's one of my bigger problems with Wing. And it's a crapshoot as to whether or not it works. Sometimes it kind of does. Like, Lundgren, I remember one point you mentioned this one scene with Trey's and Noin.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, well, like the swords
Zex
are
and
clinking
Noin,
against
by the
each
way.
other. That was such a good, yeah. Actually, that's the Zex machine to you.
Oh, of course. I am very sorry. Zex, we got Shara has a massive penis. Now we have Zex machine.
Lieutenant Sex.
The part where she was like stalking him and going on about how hot he is that the gist? Is that in the show?
Well, that is kind of the gist. She does keep chasing him, although in the show it's more of a kind of symbolic thing. She projects onto him her feelings towards war, and for her, understanding him and sort of correcting him is an extension of that idea.
She is literally, I can fix him.
Yeah, so she's basically an average Twilight fan.
Yeah, and her inability to actually understand him and his motivations is kind of indicative of her childish attitude towards war and the necessity sometimes of brutalities or killing when contrasted to his everythingness.
A major part of her character is the fact that she is inherently a pacifist, and a hardcore one at that, so she will, quite regularly, insert herself into dangerous situations to preach about her pacifism, or try to, like, get Hiro or whoever out of, like, a deadly situation, non-violent.
Because pacifism is the shit, yo. Down with pacifism.
Okay, that description kind of reminds me of the princess from Gundam Seed. Is she anything like that?
No, Lacus, we don't talk about Lacus here. Lacus is way, way worse. Relina is at the very least much reason.
We've banned Seed from the ship.
By the way, CBF, are you actually remembering correctly? Relina doesn't preach that much about pacifism.
Okay, you're not
I
at
know
that
that she
point
does
yet.
do it a number of times throughout the series, but it's just that's just kind of what she does. She inserts herself into a situation because of her pacifist ideology.
And it is kind of her attitude, but lest you remember, there was that scene where she went and totally tried and to shoot Lady Un. Oh, by the way, that bit was so fucking amazing. That bit was so amazing.
Yeah, I really like that part.
Just take that flower off. That's not your color. It would look so much better on my granddaughter. Another, the color you look best with is red. Pulls out gun.
I think she says something more like, I am better suited with the blood of a murderer. And when she pulls out the fucking
was the line.
Beretta. Oh my god.
That was amazing.
Oh yeah, like didn't her dad die at that point? Like,
Yes.
I think,
That is correct.
That was like the one time I kind of remember now that it's just like her pacifist ideology. She challenges herself to be like, "Fuck you, revenge. You killed my dad. You piece of shit."
and she probably could have killed her too, even though like she was literally, I don't know, 2
If she
feet in
wasn't a
front of her.
terrible shot.
Yes.
Or a bad character.
To be fair, have you ever shot a gun?
Well, I have my arm cannon. Okay, that's a different thing.
Point that away from us. That might actually be lethal, depending on.
I'm better than all of you because I've shot a Nerf gun.
Oh, same. But
Oh,
enough
same
about
here.
that.
Yeah.
Just like, and then we get to the other parts of the theatrics where it just kind of becomes what the fuck. Like sometimes just Relina's dialogue, and it is also a case where sometimes it takes a lot of time to try to process and figure out why she is doing what she does sometimes. Like in episode 2, why she still fixates on Hiro to the extent that she does in some cases. Like some of that stuff is explained, but then other bits, I don't remember which specific bit, but there was one point where we were both trying to figure out why she said or did this thing to begin with. Because it's not exactly that well conveyed, and it seems rather illogical. Wing does that every now and then, where sometimes a character action or dialogue just seems inane, and you have to think quite hard about why it could make sense, and then try to justify and think to yourself, was there a better way of conveying this, or is this good anyway, or not?
I will say about Relina though, I can see some people liking her, as I can see some people finding that kind of blind love for peace, you know, where it's unobscured by even the awareness and insight into the cruel practicalities of reality to be charming. I don't, but I can imagine some people might.
Yeah, she's supposed to emblemize the sort of purity that comes from the people's like true, as she describes it later on, the people's true hearts striving for peace. And as someone who finished the show rather recently, I think like yesterday or so, I kind of understand where the show is trying to go in regards to that, because, you know, like, think of it this way. To the one, in regards to like the original Gundam and the 1 Year War, it's just, hey, it's just the two sides and the conflict having to do with that. There is some gray area in regards to them, but there aren't like that many other organizations being directly involved with the conflict. With Wing, and especially with at the very end parts of Wing and then the Endless Waltz, things kept changing hands and too many people like vying for power in different organizations just rising and falling on a constant basis. And then with all of that going on, and in some ways in an effort to prevent wars, so the show kind of asks this constant question of what is the price that needs to be paid in order for peace, and the differences between what force is necessary and what amount of force isn't, and how much regular people are culpable to these things. The issue I have with Wing as a whole is that it has a good job at presenting these aspects to you, to the audience, and in a lot of ways, it does a great job at encapsulating them and climaxing them correctly. The problem is just that point A to point B, that shit ain't working, dog, like a lot of the fucking time. So, especially in Endless Waltz, where they pretty much just, I'm not even gonna get into that, but it's really even dumber there. But I enjoyed it, if that
like,
makes any sense.
The connective tissue is quite weak.
Yeah, by the way, is Endless Waltz or is it not absolutely gorgeous?
It is. It is very, very well animated. Like, much better than the show itself, which I am reminded how much restock footage it has, generally.
There is so much with just general attacks, or with minion, like, Leo units exploding. I swear, like, what's the name of the dude with, like, the super long front hair with the machine gun type Gundam? Like,
Troa.
Yeah, Troa. His Gundam, every time, like, so many times when he attacks, it just reuses his animation. Or with Quartet and his mobile suit that uses just like this double arm swipe down attack. It's the same looped animation constantly.
In fact, Aki.
You mean Quatra?
Actually, it's
I'm Catra.
Catra. Yeah. Also, Aki,
from
When
Shira?
will we talk about
you know
Shira?
that-
When?
Shut up. Anyways,
yourself.
Aki, do you
I'll kill you.
oh,
I'll kill you too.
Maybe someday when I've seen it. Well,
So-
that's not
yeah,
very
I actually need
nice.
to I haven't gotten past
You're first on my kill list.
gotta go through me. And this is the part where you say that you're on the first of the list, so I'll kill you. But Aki, you know that scene, you know that
You know
like
that's starting to lose its force, buddy.
oh shut up. You keep bringing up the joke. It's your fault. Anyways, Aki, do you like that freaking sequence where the Wing Gundam like transforms and all that shit and the green stuff going on? Well, you better enjoy that because you're going to be seeing it for about half of the show.
Well, I am a fan of the magical girl genre, so...
I was gonna say, I find I didn't notice the reused footage. I actually find it kind of charming to an extent, in that kind of action movie kind of way, where it's very like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's performative.
I
Yeah.
don't get that. At least for transformations, I get. G Gundam does this too, albeit they play around with it a lot. Where it's just one thing that's fun with G. It's just like, especially in the early episodes, from what I've seen, a lot of them they play the transformation, the full thing once for the first episode, but then for several other episodes, they remix the cuts, so you're not seeing the exact same transformation every time. You're sometimes seeing different angles and bits of it from episode to episode.
Yeah, that's what they do a lot in Tokusatsu as well, where especially for the last transformation, you'll have the full thing, and then for later episodes, you won't, unless it's for like a really, really important one.
Dyna Zenon did this too.
Like in Kamen Rider Geo, when I think his name is Tokyo Asogo unlocks his final transformation, Grand Geo, which by the way, they do the most brain dead thing where they put a little statue of every previous Kamen Rider on him with one on his head of himself, like all the base forms, and if that doesn't sound dumb enough, the suit is gold. And when he transforms, they do this big thing where like gates come out of the ground or something, and every single rider gets named when he transforms. And there are like 19, 20 including him, all the Heisei ones.
God damn.
No, look at it in practice, it's actually extremely embarrassing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna go on record and say, fuck you if you are like a designer in Kamen Rider, like a director or showrunner or something, and your idea of an appropriate final form is, let's take all the doohickeys or gadgets or whatever and stick them onto the last suit.
That sounds both self-important and over-designed as hell.
Yeah.
That actually reminds me of like Power Rangers Super Mega Force, because like I think the 6th Ranger in that show, his final form is basically like, oh, the heads, and like they have his like gold chest plate thing, I think, and like they slap like all the freaking 6th Rangers from all across the franchise onto it. Oh my god, it looks so dumb.
That is so dumb. That's so dumb. That's also Kamen Rider Decade. His is slightly less ridiculous, but from shoulder to shoulder, he has all of the cards that he uses to transform that have the pictures of the riders on them.
But yeah, let's
But
wrap
you know
up
what?
Wing.
Kamen Rider Decade is awesome.
Hey,
Yeah, I was gonna say let's get back to Wing for a sec.
With
So
Wing, a problem I have, aside from just how weirdly confusing Relina's characterization in actions can be sometimes, it's just
generally speaking, a lot of the series is very confusing. That's what's so good about the abridged, is that they make it like significantly more digestible.
Yes.
Where I'll be watching an episode of the abridged and I'll be like, oh wait, that's what was going on? Or
Yeah.
that's what he meant? Oh.
Yeah, like as I was watching the show,
it's not even like
I
a too
kept
deep
thinking
for you
about-
way anyway.
Yeah, like it's just that like pieces of information that should be like incredibly freaking basic just doesn't really get like divulged to the audience in a way that it's not that it's like incomprehensible, it's just distracting, really.
It's not conveyed very well. That's the problem with Wing a lot of the time.
Yeah, like the bit where Traiza or whatever his name is.
Trays.
And
he's cool, he's a cool character.
Trays. Yeah, he is. But where
Yeah, he's
Trays
whatever.
orchestrated the. where Trey's shut the fuck up, he's cool. But where Trey's orchestrated the plan to have the Gundam pilots representing the colonies kill all the pacifists for the Earth Federation analog group, so he and Oz can seize control. It's like, oh, that's what he. Wait, is that what he said?
Oh no, never mind. I thought you meant Troa. Trey's is actually cool. That's one thing I like.
Yeah,
that's
Trey's.
one thing about Siege. Just like, I don't give a shit about most of the protagonists except for Duo because he's fun. But the villains,
Trey's and Zex,
are vastly more interesting, and they're the reason I almost continued with the show until episode 14, where I'm just like, fuck it, I'm bored, I hate it, I'm dropping it.
To be honest, upon
See, I like Hero and Troa.
Yeah, and yeah, I like them too, actually. And upon, like, rewatching the show for myself, I actually kind of like the protagonist, generally speaking. The only one whose development feels kind of just bipolar, for lack of a better term, is freaking Katra's and Wu Fei's, especially Wu Fei's. Oh my god.
Yeah, those were the two that I disliked the most.
What did they do to my boy?
Wu Fei's just a mess.
He is just the best.
Because it's like, Duo, I like him because he's generally a fun character. Hero and... then there's Tro, who's like, he's there. Then there's Hero, who's just like, he's also kind of there, though there's some weird things. And then there's just Katra and Wu Fei that I just find annoying.
See, there are some things that they do with them sometimes that I do find interesting. Like, Kaiser, remember that episode, I think it was, I don't know, 12 or 11, where Troa and Wu Fei were sitting at the fire, like just in front of the fire.
Yeah.
And the other chick comes along and brings the food, and she's being nice, but they kind of ignore her, and they're talking to each other, and they have this conversation that feels very much like, not we're in this together, but we both have to do this shit.
Yeah, there's some consolidation there. I think that was like maybe episode 10 or something. Either that was before or after the whole shabacle with the Alliance leaders.
Yeah, because the Gundam pilots are very frequently not on the level with each other, but I liked that scene of just like sort of common understanding and kind of professional interest or professional respect between Wu Fei and Troa, which is one of the most interesting things we got out of both characters up until that point, you know? Wu Fei especially showing respect to anybody, and Troa having a conversation with somebody.
Yeah, and I also like that scene between Duo and Katra, because that was like, I think it was in episode 12, actually, because that was like a scene between the two characters that are definitely the most, like, you know, regular people in the series, which I'm definitely sure that Aki's gonna like, definitely on the Duo's part as she goes in. But, like, in regards to that scene, they're just reflecting on some of the stuff that happened. Well, not because, like, before that point, they never knew about each other before that they had gathered in that one spot before. And they were just chatting it up about, like, their past experiences, the fact that they are from the colonies, their goals, and all the other stuff. And it seemed pretty damn fun. And I wish there was a bit more of that.
I wish there was more of the Gundam pilots not bitching at each other.
That too. Jesus Christ.
I wish more Gundams had an amazing opening. Like, just communication.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, oh my god, Just Communication is like maybe top 3 favorite openings right now. By the way, Kaiser, is not Last Impression the best thing ever?
Yeah. I really like that too. All 3 openings of Wing is good.
I don't like the second one. The first one's great, though.
Really? The second opening is actually good.
Yeah, have you heard Last Impression from Endless Waltz?
Yeah.
Yeah, Rhythm Emotion is pretty cool.
No. It does not hold a candle to the first one.
Yeah, I really like how the full version, especially of Last Impression, starts off like instrumental, and then it just pops off.
Yeah, it definitely has a lot of like freaking pop vibes, which is evident especially at the time.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the show was trying to go...
and instrumentation.
Yeah, the show I think was hanging a sort of like Odagiri effect sort of thing. Because, I mean, just like, not just with the general style of the show, but also with, like, especially
just
with the soundtrack.
It was Fujoshi baiting.
Essentially, dude, literally, most of the attention that the show had, especially in Japan, is just because of the doujins featuring the male characters.
There's a reason that this was probably the most popular in Japan for women outside of eventually Double O. It's male Bishi boys doing cool male Bishi boy things.
Okay, because I heard from Gaijin Goomba that once he was documenting some experiences in a manga cafe, in a Gundam cafe, sorry, force of habit, and he mentioned how Gundam, like Universal Century, is quite popular in Japan, but the Wing timeline not so much, and it's more popular in the US because it was on Toonami.
Fair. Yeah, but I guess I can see how it could be a bit more cult because it definitely a lot of time has a sort of like fucking, especially with like the promotional art, sorry. And they have like the main cast just doing the sort of like Backstreet Boys poses and shit and wearing like different clothes and shit.
Yeah, that's, wow. By the way, Kaiser, so does the line, "Now I never have to kill again," or however he says it in context, like, work? Because I heard that line, I was like, yeah, that sounds like a good conclusion for Hero.
In a way, it does.
Very
in a certain
heavy-handed.
It is, but in a way
Yeah,
it
that's
does.
the show in a nutshell. Honestly, being heavy-handed is its charm.
It's bad.
I mean, yeah, to a certain extent. Like, if it done a bit well with that style, that would be fine. But, like, generally, that line and how it relates to Hero's character, especially with the added context, at least a little bit, that Endless Waltz give, actually does a good job at just not only capping and stoning his character, but also kind of further cements some of the themes of the show. It's just that everything else surrounding that didn't really work.
It seems like a nice sort of little bow on the whole thing. Because presumably it's not just him, right? It's Troa and Katra and Duo and Wu Fei and everyone.
Yeah. But with all that being the case, as much as I rag on Wing, I do find it definitely one of the more interesting Gundam installments that I've ever seen. So I would definitely recommend fun. Wing is definitely fun, even if it's pretty dumb. But so I definitely recommend just people watching come to their own conclusions.
I recommend it, by the way, just if you want some like dumb action movie shenanigans.
Based off of the abridged, it looks like fun.
Yes, and the abridged,
like dumb
we
action
definitely
movie
recommend
shenanigans,
that.
but with kids.
Yes,
we definitely recommend the abridged.
Like, the abridged probably, yeah. With Wing, it definitely has, like, the overkill formula and stuff that's a bit divisive, but there's some interesting stuff that you guys brought up that I may have forgotten about, but not enough to make me want to go back to it, especially because I still found it both dumb and often very boring, but enough about that. We're already going on for quite a while here, so let's just wrap things up here for now. So, yeah. What are we gonna do with Aki, by the way? Is she just gonna chill out here, or what? What are we gonna do?
Oh, don't mind me. I actually have made a camp outside in another room. I think it said something like Tyler on the door plate, but it's unoccupied, so I don't think that Tyler person's going to mind.
That's Captain Tyler to you, and yeah, no. That's assuming he's even here. This area just seems abandoned.
Lieutenant! That's Lieutenant Captain Justy Ueki Tyler to you, CBF. Why am I shattering?
I don't know. That's irresponsible, Captain Tyler to you. But yeah.
That's Musekinin, not Tyler to you.
Oh my god. Anyways,
I think we'll cap but enough about that.
Must be the influence of space.
So yeah, so this stowaway's just gonna camp out here, okay. Well, bye.
Alright, see you guys
See you on
around.
the next episode of the Newtypes podcast.
See ya.